Hey everybody, Dr. Scott at Thrive Family Chiropractic coming at you from Lincoln, Nebraska. So today we want to talk about something that's super important. And if you know anything about science, about development, you've probably read about this big fancy word written in purple at the top of the whiteboard, neuroplasticity. What the heck does that mean? Break it down. Neuro means nervous system, right? So we're talking about our brain and the nervous system, everything that's involved in that. Plasticity, what does that mean? Well, plastic. Think about plastic. When you want to change something, mold something, plastic is very moldable, right? You can melt it down, you can heat it up, you can change it, mold it into whatever shape you want it to be. So what this term means is our nervous system is plastic. It's changeable, it's moldable, it's adaptable. But the thing is, and the key is we have to give it the right tools in order to do so. Okay, so there's a lot of things involved in that, super complicated, but we're gonna make it pretty simple. And what I wanted to talk to you about today is why it is so crucial, critical, and important to get your kids checked and evaluated by people, healthcare professionals who know what they're doing and know what to look for to give them the best start to life, okay? This chart that we're gonna go over today that you see here is actually something from Harvard's Center for Developing Children, which they're doing an awesome amount of research there at Harvard on neuroplasticity and childhood development, right? So some of the more typical motor milestones and things like that have kind of are always been in place. Some of those are shifting and changing, which we're not going to get into today. But we're going to talk about what this neuroplasticity thing means and why is it so important to get your kiddos checked and not waiting and just seeing how they do as they go through development. If you're seeing challenges and struggles with your kids, get them checked. Do something about it. Because I hate this phrase, they'll grow out of it, is so often said and spouted out from healthcare professionals, doctors, you name it. And honestly, quite honestly, it's a catastrophic thing in a lot of cases. They grow out of it, oftentimes actually they'll grow into something different. So it might change depending on how old they are, where they're at in their development, but oftentimes those internal struggles, those deeply rooted issues and stress that's causing XYZ, whatever it is they're struggling with, will come and grow into something different later. Okay, we're going to give a couple examples of that here in a few minutes. But over here on this side, I have written here in green the three most crucial, basic, critical things that you have to have doing well in your newborn. So if we're talking about little babies that come into this world, they have to eat. We should reverse this. They should poop after they eat, and they should sleep. Now, not just be able to do those things okay, they need to do those things well, which means they have to latch well, they have to feed well, they can't have reflux and spit up all the time and things like that. They need to be able to process, digest, and then eliminate. The elimination part is critical. You want to get the crud out of that little body. You know, you don't want that toxic crud to stay in there. So, you know, it's not uncommon that we have a parent come in that we work with who, you know, their pediatrician or whoever it may be just says, oh, you know, they poop every 3-4 days or once a week, you know, at least they're going, that's fine, just see how it goes, they'll grow out of it. Honestly, guys, there's nothing that kind of ticks us off a little bit more because that is not normal and that's not good for them, okay? They need to be able to get that stuff out. And then sleeping is just so critical. You cannot heal and grow and develop normally unless you have good sleep habits. Let me ask you this. If you're an adult, which I assume you're an adult watching this, what happens when you go multiple nights without good sleep? Maybe you get a few hours here, a few hours there, you're constantly woke up. What happens to you? Well, you get migraines or headaches, or you just feel that stress. You get irritable, moody. Gosh, fill in the blank. Maybe you have an upset stomach. There's so many symptoms that present themselves when we don't get good sleep. So think about that with our kids, man. It's even probably more important for them. We know they need more sleep than we do as adults. They need good quality of sleep too. If they're not doing these three things well and efficiently, what's going on? There's got to be some sort of underlying issue, and that's what we try to figure out here in our office. Now, as they get older, of course, in the very beginning, the immune system, the digestive system, and the motor system are just three of the more crucial, and again, we could put the neuro in front of all these because it's really neuroimmune, neuromotor, and neurodigestive because the nervous system does control all of that. Okay, so all of these systems have to be working properly in order for your child to develop and grow well. Okay, so what happens if any of these things don't happen well and efficiently or with some sort of stress and interference? A lot of times, and this is, you can read the research. If you don't believe me, my goodness, get a hold of me and I'll point you in the right direction. You can read research after research after research that'll show problems in these areas early on. We're seeing more and more and more are leading to causation or correlation with some of these. And these are just 4 of the things of a list of many, but ADHD and other behavioral and impulsivity disorders. We have anxiety and depression. Oftentimes in our early teen or late teenagers, we're seeing so much of this. And then the last one I have written is sensory processing disorders. Now that's a whole spectrum of things too. Just anything from, OCD all the way up to autism, right? So we're correlating these things more and more and more as more science and research is coming out. So now let's get to the chart. What does neuroplasticity and what has Harvard shown us? Now this, if anything, this should blow your mind. It blew my mind. I mean, it's just cool to kind of see it there. It's kind of maybe stuff that we might already know, kind of like common sense, but let's map it out. So here we go. We have this vertical axis, but on the horizontal axis is age, right? So at the beginning we have age 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then I go up to age 70, all right? So what is the brain's ability to change? Like how much can we actually change the nervous system? Okay, that's the question. Well, what Harvard has shown is if this is 100% able to change the neuroplastic or that nervous system, we start pretty high, okay, and then pretty drastically it drops and starts doing this, and then it kind of falls down to the bottom here. So in those first 8 to 10 years of life, right, that is the zone where you have the most potential to make a lasting effect and improvement in the neurology, the nervous system of your little one. Now, some of you might sit here and think, oh, that's cool, that's great. I don't even know what that means, nervous system. Guys, you can't, the brain, the spinal cord, and all the nerves, they literally are the master control center for everything. I don't care if you have immune system issues, digestive system issues, musculoskeletal issues. Honestly, all of it ties back to the nervous system somehow, some way. If our nervous system is not functioning well, it will trickle down into some of these other systems of our body, right? So do you want to give your kids a good start to life? Yes, right? Obviously you all do, and whoever's watching this, I know you do because you care enough to watch this video, right? So the brain's ability to change goes down. Now, it does not mean you cannot change it later in life. It just gets a little bit less. The ability gets a little less, and also the energy and input that you have to do to make those changes becomes more as well, which is the second thing here. The amount of effort it is required to change. Like, so how much time does it take? Which is a question we always get. How long is this going to take for my kid or me? Like, I have these issues. What can we do to change it, and how long is that going to take? And can we make all these improvements? Well, okay, there's some realistic things to think about here, and I'm going to grab my red marker. So the amount of effort required to make a change is kind of the inverse of what we just talked about with the brain's ability to change. So you start here, and as you get about age 30, 20s and 30s, it starts to go like this. Okay, so almost an inverse relationship to that first line. So the amount of effort to make changes is not that much in the beginning. It goes into these two things in combination. This zone right here, ages 2, 4, 6, 8. My goodness, we can make so much positive change in their nervous system, thus all of these other systems if we start early and often. It requires less time, it requires less energy, it requires less therapy, it requires less of all of these things if we start early enough. Now, everybody's different, every kid's different. There's a whole spectrum of severity of things, so it's not like every kid that walks in the door is going to be 3 or 4 weeks and they're going to be great. Some kiddos it takes a very long time, but that just is dependent on where they're at in their story. So much of that has to do, and I'm not going to go into all of this today, it's for another day, but was there a lot of birth trauma? Was there a lot of stress during the pregnancy? All of those things have a ton to do with where a little kiddo starts off life, okay? So as we get older, obviously the amount of time and the amount of work and things to change the nervous system takes a lot more effort, some more time, but it's never too late, guys. And that's one thing I want you to leave here with is if you have a teenager or a child in their 20s and they have all sorts of anxiety and depression and ADHD and all these things that are so common, it's sickening in our world these days how much this is ramping up and going up. It's not too late, right? We can really attack that hard, heavy, and fast and really make awesome changes in their life. We see it every day in our office, guys. It's such a joy for me personally and all of our team here. I know, when we have, I can think of 2-3 young women who are in college right now, just in the last couple of weeks, that have said, since I've been undergoing care and kind of really figuring this thing out and getting my nervous system, like I just sleep better, I'm less anxious, I don't stress out about school or relationships as much. That is life-changing stuff, guys. I mean, think about that. Think about back when you were young. Like those things, some of us remember those things and those instances in our life, and they've changed us forever, right? I know that's true for me. So think about that. It's never too late. It's never too late to give you or your family help, okay? So I want to leave you guys with this. Take a last look at that and just really encourage you. Keep following me on social media. Instagram is Doc S. Keller. Facebook page, just under my name, Scott Keller, and then subscribe to this YouTube channel, right? I'm going to be putting out more and more content. If you look back at the page, there's a lot of awesome exercise stuff, rehabilitation, stretches, core strengthening, and I would encourage all of you, if this hit home with you and you're really wanting to know more about kiddos and pediatric care and all that kind of stuff, watch the video that I posted that's called This Will Blow Your Mind, because it takes a deep dive. It's about an hour and 15 minutes long. Watch it in chunks if you have to, but it takes a deep dive into more of the science and also the stories of what we see in our office, where kids were, where they began, and where they're going. So I just am thrilled that you guys were watching. Again, follow this YouTube channel. Pass it along to your friends and family. People just need to hear this stuff. You're just not getting it from the mainstream a lot of times. And what I like to present is research-based, evidence-based stuff that's out there. You just have to know how to look for it. All right, till next time, guys. Dr. Scott with Thrive Family Chiropractic.